Imagine for me, if you will, a scenario. You're in grand finals of a regional with over 100 attendees. You made it there on winner's side, guaranteed second when you were only the 7th seed. You've made upsets over top players, over globally recognized names. But one still stands in your way. A beacon of aggressiveness and fast-paced gameplay. This will not be easy. Now, imagine that the set has progressed. You lost the first set of Grands 3-0, and the games were not close. Now you're down 2-0 on the Grands reset, and even though the games have went last stock, they have never went last hit. You're on what may be your final stock, at over 140% as one of the lighter characters in the game. Your opponent is at 0. Now, tell me, what would you do? Why am I asking you this? Because today, we'll be going over a real set between two players this past weekend that unfolded just like I described. But once the smoke clears, this set won't end how you may think. Cirque du CFL was this past weekend, and in today's video we'll be going over the top 8 of the tournament, how they got there, and we'll be covering the grand finals of this tournament, one of the greatest comebacks in the history of this game. Starting with our 7th place finishers, like we always do, we have Apple and Samsora. Now hold the video, stop the music. If you're anything like me, you probably just either got whiplash or PTSD upon hearing the second of those two names, Samsora. It's kind of the elephant in the room for this top 8, and I don't feel comfortable just going on with the video without at least addressing it, but I'm gonna keep this incredibly brief. I was not in the community when the Nairo and Captain Zag incident all came into the light, since I stepped away from Smash Bros when COVID happened. Because of that, I'm not the best authority to talk about what happened or who should be banned or what, because I really just know of the incident through the grapevine, which can be unreliable at best and deceitful at worst sometimes. So no, I'm not planning on giving you an opinion on whether or not Samsora should have been allowed at this tournament or not. In fact, I wouldn't even want to give you an opinion even if I had one. If you're curious about learning more, I encourage you, do your own research, and do not just read YouTube comments or Twitter replies and take their opinions as facts. Please, if anything else, do your own research and come to your own conclusions. With that brief statement out of the way, let's continue the video, and since we were talking about them anyways, let's start with Samsora. Samsora, despite making only 7th and underplacing their seed, got very impressive wins over this weekend at Cirque du CFL, which I may just start calling du CFL from now on because I really don't want to pronounce Cirque for the rest of the video. Samsora started the weekend by sweeping through pools without dropping a game, defeating Karu, notable Belmont player and frequent regular in my Twitch streams, to make it out of pools. Hi Karu. Now in top 32, Samsora got an impressive win over Beast Mode Paul 3-1 before losing 3-0 to Myron, a name most of you probably recognize. Now in the losers bracket, Samsora got a win over Javi on Earth in a Game 5 set before making a massive upset by defeating Anathema 3-0, eliminating the 3rd seed at 9th place. Samsora, now in top 8, would go on to lose their next match in a Game 5 loss to Zomba, the only one of Samsora's sets to be streamed actually.
What a grab!
Yo! Crazy burner boost. Someone slamming a door. Yo. Zomba said, back to New York.
And with that, the title for the best Rob player in NA is again unclear. Can't there just be a clear best Rob already? My brain hurts trying to figure it out. Next we move on to our second 7th place finisher, Apple. Apple is a notable Steve player who attended this weekend, but aha! Steve was banned at du CFL. That led to some on Twitter to proclaim that Apple wouldn't do as well now that he wasn't carried by Steve anymore. Well, Apple crushed the haters this weekend with his placing of 7th, outplacing their 15th seed. Apple made it through pools fairly easily with only one Game 3 set of the bunch. Apple then went on to have 3 Game 5 sets in a row in top 32, his first being against Zomba, which Apple lost. The second was against Ducky, which Apple won, before moving on to fight his 3rd Game 5 set of top 32, winning against Sai Silex, and then moving on to defeat Seal in a 3-1, breaking the Game 5 streak. Once in top 8, Apple would fall to Myron for 7th, a great placement for a player proven to prevail against the carried allegations. And if someone says he's carried because he plays Ice Climbers, I'm coming after you, bro. With that, we move on to our 5th place finishers, Goblin and Myron, two names you've most definitely heard before. So let's talk about how they did. Now is a good time to mention that this tournament did not have many VODs, literally only 9. Thankfully, everyone in the top 8 was streamed at least once, but Myron's only VOD is also Apple's only VOD, which is why I have to use the same background footage for both of them. Forgive me, I just don't have a lot to work with here. So, starting with Myron started off the weekend strong, not dropping a single game for 4 sets straight and getting wins on the aforementioned Samsora and Riku, who we talked about all the way back in my first ever Analytical Smash video, my video on Let's Make Big Moves. Riku was a top 16 finisher at that tournament, and a Steve player too. Unfortunately, I don't know who Riku was playing since none of their sets got streamed and none of their games reported. Maybe Karu can tell me. Anyways, Myron suffered his first loss here, losing to Goblin 3-0 and getting sent to losers. However, it was here in losers that Myron got his most impressive win of the tourney, a 3-0 victory over Sean, the Captain Falcon sensation who arguably, but kind of not arguably, is the best Captain Falcon in the world. A 3-0 win over a player like Sean is extraordinary for anyone. In top 8, Myron defeated Apple 3-0, like we discussed, before losing to Hyper Kirby 3-1, meaning that Myron got double eliminated by Roy this tournament. But you're going to be hearing a lot more of that coming up, because next is Goblin. Goblin is the first Roy player that we've covered in top 8 of this tournament, but he certainly won't be the last. Also, he's the first top 8 player that actually has more than one VOD of his run, so that's nice. Goblin's run this weekend is actually pretty short compared to the players we've talked about so far. He got out of pools in only 2 sets, and then went on to defeat Javi on Earth in a close Game 5 set, for his only set of top 32. Perks of a top seed, I suppose. Goblin defeated Myron 3-0 for his first set of top 8, like we discussed, before going on to winners semifinals to fight Cola in a Roy Ditto to the death. It went Game 5, and even though Game 5 ended up not being close, the set itself was very close overall, with the Roy Ditto coming down to the wire.
A great punish there too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's playing kind of scared, and that's it again, landing in the F smash.
Goblin was sent to losers and immediately lost their next set to Zomba 3-1 for a 5th place finish. Next up we have our 4th place finisher, Hyper Kirby. Now, you may ask, who? Well, Hyper Kirby is a Georgia Roy main, and I just realized that sentence could apply to like 5 people. Anyways, Hyper Kirby made waves this weekend and made sure that you knew their name now. Hyper Kirby started off by sweeping through pools without dropping a game, but Hyper Kirby's run was defined by their incredible upset wins, and Hyper Kirby started off top 32 with 2 of them back to back. Hyper Kirby in top 32 defeated Sean and Anathema back to back, only dropping 1 game in both of those sets to Sean. These are incredible wins for someone seated below both of these players. These wins contributed to Hyper Kirby's impressive stats of an upset factor of +6 and an SBR of 3, which, surprisingly, wasn't even the best out of everyone in the top 8 in either statistic. Hyper Kirby lost their next set, winner semis, to Kobe in a close Game 5 set.
Yo, the upper catching him, not gonna kill though.
142, this is huge, but if I'm...
Whoa, if I'm nothing.
Hyper Kirby then defeated Myron in a 3-1 victory, and then lost to Zomba in a 3-0 loss in losers semifinals for a placement of 4th.
Every single hit we're seeing here from Zomba just paying off for him.
Yeah.
And that's the big difference.
Oh my gosh,
Wrap it up.
That was a 3-0.
Quick 3-0. Very fast.
Our 3rd place finisher is Zomba, who had a great run this weekend and is sort of a Roy Slayer. Almost. You'll see. Zomba started off strong by getting through pools easily before defeating Apple Game 5 in his first set of top 32. But then Zomba suffered an upset loss at the hands of Kobe, losing 3-1. Now in losers, Zomba defeated Mysterica 3-1 to make it into top 8 losers side. Zomba, now in top 8, defeated Samsora Game 5 before going on to slay the bracket runs of 2 of the 3 Roy mains to top 8. Zomba defeated both Goblin 3-1 and Hyper Kirby 3-0. But it was the Roy mains who had the last laugh, as Zomba was then defeated by the Alpha Roy, Cola, in a 3-0 loss for a solid placement of 3rd.
47, man. 67.
I know.
Get that down
Oh
10%.
my gosh!
That's it. That's all you need.
3-0.
Oh my gosh, 3-0.
Our 2nd place finisher was Cola. You may be very surprised to hear that actually, but we'll get to that when we talk about our champion of this tournament later on. Cola swept through not only his pool, but arguably his entire bracket path, only getting taken to a decisive game once when he fought Goblin. But immediately after his close set with Goblin, Cola had another very close set in winners finals against Kobe. But this time, he wouldn't come out of it on top.
63 already.
If there's anybody who's in a Mamba mentality right now, that's it.
That's it. That's it. No way. That's it.
Yo! Grand finals!
Is it grand finals?
Cola got sent to losers where he dispatched of Zomba, getting revenge for all of his Roy brethren in the process. With that, Cola made his way back to Grands against Kobe on loser's side. However, I want to save how that set went for the end. That's because this Grand Finals contains what I think may be in contention for one of the greatest comebacks ever made in Smash Ultimate history. Let's talk about the other side of Grand Finals, Kobe. Remember when we were talking about Hyper Kirby and I said he didn't have the highest SPR or upset factor? Yeah, Kobe was the other person who smashed those statistics in the face. Kobe, as the 7th seed, had an SPR of 5, and his win over Zomba early on in the bracket led to an astounding upset factor of plus 14. Kobe swept through the entire bracket, making it to Grands without losing a set, and picking up massively impressive wins on Zomba, Hyper Kirby, and Cola in the process. With Zomba being a 3-0 win, but Kobe winning Game 5 against both of the Roe players. It was a hard-fought bracket, but there's much to be said about Kobe's stamina throughout this tourney, especially considering what's about to happen. Because now, we make it to Grand Finals. This set has what I think has a good chance to be the greatest comeback in Ultimate history, similar to Leo's EVO win even, but I think the game count is more impressive in this set, while Leo's stock performance in each of his games was what made that set so impressive. This set seemed to be decided the moment both players went into it, at first. Cola 3-0'd Kobe in the first set of Grands, causing a bracket reset. And I want you to understand, these games were not close. Cola JV2'd Kobe in Game 1, 2-stocked him in Game 2, and won Game 3 with only 24% to his stock. And at first, the reset didn't look much better. In the first game of the Grands reset, Cola took it with only 39% on his stock, much like the Game 5 of the first set. And in Game 2, Cola took it similarly, with a dominant win and only 58% on his stock. Any other player would have mentally given up. Many players would have had terrible thoughts swirling around in their head right now. Was his win in Winners Finals just a fluke? Was Cola throwing before and now is actually trying? Are my hopes of winning going to be crushed out after all? Am I good enough? That's what any other player would have been thinking. But not Kobe. Not today. Kobe took Game 3, both players at kill percent for a solid minute of the final game, and in that moment both the commentators, the audience, and Kobe himself realized something. This was possible. Game 4 went to Kobe. Cola looked distressed, his hands on his head, slumping down in his chair. He too was starting to realize that he was in real danger of losing this. But he wouldn't go down without a fight. And thus, Game 5 of the Grand Finals reset began. And this time, Cola gained a massive lead over Kobe. Kobe being at over 140%, dead to literally any of Roy's sweet spot moves. And Cola was on a fresh stock. At this point, many people would have thrown up their arms and said, oh well, Kobe made a good effort. He almost had it. But then, this happened.
The bomb. No way.
Kobe!
No way!
Kobe!
Okay, this could be big. This could be
Could be
big.
huge.
Oh my
Yo,
gosh.
the boomerang.
Oh
No
my
way.
god! Kobe! Dude, this is so intense. Okay, oh my gosh, that would have killed too. Oh, this is not
He's
where I
got
want to
nerves.
be.
He's got nerves.
Oh,
that's it.
Oh! That's
Yo,
there.
this is it.
Yo! Kobe! Yo!
And thus, Kobe went from losing 3-0 in a sweep of Grands to coming a hair away from being swept in the reset, to not only reverse 3-0 Cola, but reverse 6-0 him. With a Game 5 comeback that ended with Kobe being over 160% as one of the lighter characters in the game, and thus, one of the greatest comebacks of all time was completed, and Cirque du CFL went to Kobe. That's going to be it for today's video. If you've enjoyed, please consider following my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/RisterMice, where I stream Smash Bros. Very frequently. Also, feel free to leave a comment down below on if you think this Grand set can qualify as one of the greatest comebacks in the game's history. I've been Mr. Mice, and thank you so much for watching.